Whether you own Bitcoin or not, everyone has advanced notice of what's coming. No excuses. This is it.
But I've said ad nauseum, we do believe in accumulation, obviously in budget neutral ways, as the president's outlined, but there are countless ways that we can engage in that. We'll act on those that can be most expeditiously implemented. And I think that, people will be very pleased with the direction that we go in, and we'll start moving on that in short order. But obviously in this report, if you read the first digital assets EO, we're tasked with creating a clear and robust regulatory framework. And so that's what we focus on here. We understand the importance of the strategic Bitcoin reserve. We're enormous fans of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin community, and we want to deliver for them as well, and I'm certain that we will.
We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
What are you doing?
The White House just went orange, and today we got confirmation of a US Bitcoin strategic reserve and plans for America to literally stack sats. It's not just bullish, it's one of the most bullish news weeks in the history of Bitcoin. Welcome back, I'm Sophie, filling in for Rustin, and I've always wanted to say this, send it! Yep, you heard that right. The US just admitted in an official report that they're looking to acquire a lot more Bitcoin. They even quoted us plebs directly. FN 496, baby. Stacking sats. We memed it into existence. This is like the Pentagon saying HODL, or the CIA tweeting, number go up technology. I'm so proud. Bo Hines just gave the entire Bitcoin community a Valentine. We're enormous fans. Bro, we know. And we know y'all been stacking sats under the table.
How much Bitcoin does the federal government have?
I can't discuss that right now.
Come on, give us a ballpark.
I can't.
Is it going to be made public?
There are several reasons in which we're not disclosing that at this time. There might be a time in which we do. But what I will say is, we want as much as we can possibly get. And that's what I continue to say, and we're going to continue to work on that.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent used to manage George Soros' money. Now he's tweeting, crypto welcome home. That's not a pivot. That's a prophecy.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet.
We are going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. With the passage of the Genius legislation last week, I think that we could see several $1 trillion of demand.
The strategic Bitcoin reserve at this point has a lot more plot development than a Christopher Nolan film. We went from ban it to let's honor Hal Finney. Oh, and in other news, it looks like Nancy Pelosi is out here looking like they found her unreported Bitcoin stash.
Yeah, it was. Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is. But it isn't anything to do with anything insider. But the president has his own exposure, so he's always projecting. He's always projecting. And let's not give him any more time on that, please. We're going forward here, and I'm very proud of my family. And while he might make fun of us, while somebody inspired by him breaks into our home and hits my husband in a deadly fashion, hits my husband over the head, and he thinks that's a riot, I'd rather not go into some of my other complaints about him right now. Rather to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid.
Ma'am, blink twice if the orange man is at the door.
I like it conceptually, and Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. And how did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made. And she ought to be investigated.
JP Morgan, Coinbase, Bitcoin. That's like Gordon Gekko and Satoshi grabbing beers. You can now buy ETF shares with Bitcoin and redeem those shares back in real Bitcoin. No more cash-settled clown world. This is physical. This is digital. This is Bitcoin takeover.
What's the end game for you? Is it just to buy as much Bitcoin as you can and hold it for as long as possible and never sell it?
That's one of the goals, yes. But I think what makes us different than a lot of these other businesses is we plan to build Bitcoin products as well. I mean, the founding group is Tether and myself. I founded and lead Strike is one of the bigger Bitcoin financial services firms in the world. Tether, obviously, is one of the most impressive companies in the history of humanity, but specifically in building massive cash flows within the space. So Paulo and I, before we were CEOs, we were engineers. We built a lot of products. And so we plan to not only acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, raising capital in all sorts of deep capital pools, but also build products, build technology, build tools. I think when people eventually think of 21, it's are they a competitor to Coinbase? Are they a competitor to Strategy? For us, why not both? We think we have that potential.
Do you envision a future where Bitcoin treasury companies such as Strategy, Mara, and you guys end up buying so much Bitcoin that there really isn't actually much left out there on the open market for people to trade? After all, it is a fixed number of Bitcoin, so no more will be created once it reaches that number.
Right. You know what's fascinating about the asset, and it's not intuitive because it's so rare, is that, to your point, it is definitively scarce. So if everyone in the world wanted an iPhone, Apple could make more. If everyone in the world wanted a McDonald's cheeseburger, McDonald's could make more. The fact that Bitcoin cannot increase its supply means the new supply comes from the market. If you want more Bitcoin, you don't go to the Bitcoin factory to get one. You have to go up in price. Is there enough Bitcoin for me at 120,000? No. Okay, 130, 140, 150. So I tell you what, there's always Bitcoin available. Just depends on what you're willing to pay for it. And so what I think will happen is this price will continue to discover higher because Bitcoin is the scarcest thing. It's inelastic to the amount of demand that searches for it. So the amount of buying power that we're seeing from the capital markets, from the ETFs, and potentially from nation states like the United States, I think they'll find the supply they're looking for. They're just going to have to go get it at a higher price.
Mahler's has more energy than the Lightning Network. The man saying 150K is coming in hot. And that was before the feds dropped their orange papers.
The point of Bitcoin, just for the people who have it now, to get wealthier and wealthier. The largest holders of Marathon, of you guys, and of Strategy, convince them that there is a use case beyond just buying and holding, that this is a useful technology.
Well, I think the use case for Bitcoin from the highest level possible is I've created value and I want to keep it. That's it. I got a chuckle out of you. That's true. I got up out of bed, I sacrificed, I worked, I commuted, I did tasks, I created products, I created value for those around me. I want to keep that value.
But even though it's called a cryptocurrency, it's not used widespread as a currency. It's used as something that will accumulate or that people think will accumulate in value.
Yes, I think the definitions of currency and money and how we think of medium of exchange, store of value, I think it gets too complicated. And sometimes Bitcoin is so simple that people don't believe it can be that simple. The reality is money is what you acquire in exchange for your effort, your time, your energy. It's our time and energy in abstracted form. And I exchange my work hours for it so that I can later get the stuff I need in my life. I want to go to Whole Foods and get a steak. I want to go on vacation. I need to pay rent. That's what money's for, is to allow me to create value and take it with me tomorrow. And that's the use case. And today, it's increasingly difficult to achieve that. I can't save it in dollars. We all know that. Okay, you're going to force me to understand Japanese central bank monetary policy? You're going to force me to understand what tech stocks to pick? No, how about something that's definitively scarce, no one can inflate, I can store for free, I can move cheaply, and that I could put it in my brain. And that's the use case, and we all have that use case. Nation state, corporations, families, individuals. Simply put, I think everyone can find value in a technology that is open source and solve that for everybody.
Forget Lambos, forget Gucci. Bitcoin is how you keep your value. No middlemen, no taxes. No unrealized dreams. Okay, we're about to bring it home today and break down why sovereign Bitcoin game theory has gone nuclear. But before we break down what happened to those poor, unfortunate nation states who don't adopt Bitcoin, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Don't forget to like and subscribe while we take a moment to thank our sponsors powering the show over at Bitcoin Way. At the Bitcoin Way, they'll walk you through all things Bitcoin like it's kindergarten with Satoshi. From setting up your first wallet to running your first node and so much more, no tech skills needed. The Bitcoin Way has got you covered. You want $1 million Bitcoin? Better act like it. Self-custody is not optional. That is the revolution. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with the Bitcoin Way today using that link in the show notes. Are you sick of being surrounded by fiat normies? Well, boom! Our friends over at the Orange Pill app got you covered. The Orange Pill app is the single largest repository of Bitcoin-only events in the world. Connect with over 16,000 other Bitcoiners in real life. Bitcoin is better with friends, and now you can zap them instantly all in one app. What are you waiting for? Download the Orange Pill app today. Go hit a meetup and start stacking friends who stack sats today.
The states will disintegrate because states don't have any Bitcoin, so they will disintegrate and they'll go to war with each other. I was speaking with a gentleman last night from Pakistan, and Pakistan and India recently got into a bit of a kerfuffle, a jet fight in the air.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, well, the Pakistani jets cost us like 50 million and their jets cost 250 million, and we shot down their jets and our bombs are 50 million. And I said, let me explain to you how a Bitcoiner sees this. A Bitcoiner looks at you, two countries going into debt to buy weapons to kill each other, which you then have to pay for by printing more money or borrowing more money. That means my Bitcoin goes higher. So, I could try to get you to buy Bitcoin and save you, but I'm conflicted, because the more you kill each other, the more my Bitcoin is worth. So, I'm conflicted. You want me to help you, but you have to bottom out in the fiat money world. You have to bottom out on warmongering. You have to bottom out on your religious nonsense, to accept Bitcoin. If you're not going to, I don't care, because you're just going to print money to ad nauseum, to infinity. And it just means Bitcoin goes to keeps going higher and higher. So, we'll see. The solution is here for you, but if you don't want it, I don't care.
Max said the quiet part out loud. The states that don't have Bitcoin will disintegrate. And just until Texas and New Hampshire are smash buying Bitcoin along with the Saudis.
It is the most powerful force in the world right now. It's growing nearly 60%. It's become the 8th largest asset in the world. It's about to become the largest asset in the world in the next 48 months. The largest asset in the world in the next 48 months.
Saylor doesn't say things lightly. When he says Bitcoin will be the largest asset in the world, he means it'll vaporize gold, real estate, and every broken Treasury bond in its way. And in just roughly 46 months. Strap in. Pretty sure after yesterday, we can confirm.
As always, fuck your puts, fuck your calls. Jay Powell has you by the balls. God bless my money printer.
Jay Powell has us by the balls. But hey, he's just upset that they no longer hold any relevance. The Fed is stuck. And Powell looks like he's doing a Wordle live when he's asked about inflation.
What kind of economic data does the Fed need to see before you'll be ready to cut? Do you need inflation back nearly to target? Are there other things in the pricing that you look for? Do you need to see weakening in the job market? What kind of things are you looking for?
Ultimately, it could be any of those things, right? But if you saw that the risks to the two goals were moving into balance, if they were fully in balance, that would imply that you should move toward a more neutral stance of policy. This is the special situation we're in, which is we have two-sided risk to both of our goals. When we paused, inflation was above target and the labor market was pretty good. So that was a time when policy was restrictive when we paused, and to be restrictive is to be supporting a return to our inflation target, right? So as the two targets get back into balance, you would think you'd move in a way closer to neutral, and that the next steps that we take are likely to be in that direction. What will it take? It'll be the totality of the evidence. As I mentioned, there's quite a lot of data coming in, which before the next meeting. Will it be dispositive of that? It's really hard to say. We don't make those decisions right now, so we'll have to see.
Well, I guess just in terms of inflation, though, for example, like some people would point to if it remains only in goods and it doesn't bleed over to services, then maybe that's evidence that the tariff effect is going to be a temporary one-time thing. Is that kind of thing affect your thinking, or do you just need to see the number come down
I think
closer to 2?
We'll look at everything. It's, as I mentioned, a pretty reasonable base case is that this will be a one-time price increase. And in the end, we'll make sure that that's the case. We're just trying to do that efficiently. And efficiently means getting the timing right so we don't, again, if we cut rates too soon, maybe we didn't finish the job with inflation. History is dotted with examples of that. If you cut too late, then maybe you're doing unnecessary damage to the labor market. So we're trying to get that timing right. And that's effectively what we're doing.
They can't raise, they can't cut, and Bitcoin is just chilling near all-time high. Peter Schiff at this point has called Bitcoin a bubble more times than the Fed has printed billions. He's like the anti-Oracle of Omaha. Every time he tweets, Saylor buys another billion. What a Chad. Visa CEO says Bitcoin adoption looks like the e-commerce boom in the 90s, and this move by Visa is preparing them for the next decade. The US is stacking. Jack's stacking. Saylor is stacking. And if you're not bullish, you're foolish. What the hell do you think this is? You think this is tulips? You think this is a bubble? Think again, Buttercup.
Ladies and gentlemen, bubbles have 3 characteristics. They tend to be a single cycle boom, then bust, relatively short in duration, and crash back down to the baseline, which is either 0 or the inflation-adjusted place of where they were before the boom. The Dutch tulip mania was like this. So was the housing bubble. So was the dot-com bubble. And so was pretty much every other bubble ever. So what about Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is actually hard to see the price cycles because it's increased such radically in value over time. So we're going to use a logarithmic scale to look at what it looks like on a price cycle where you go from 0 to $1, then to $10, $100. It's called the logarithmic scale, which is often used for assets with this level of upside. So in the first price cycle, Bitcoin went from about 5 cents up to $32, back to $2. Now, if we were having this debate in 2011, you could be forgiven for believing it met 2 of the 3 criteria of a bubble, except that it landed at a price that was 40 times as high as the 5 cents that it started at. What happened next? It didn't go to 0, it went up to $1,200, came back to 92, meeting now none of the criteria of a bubble. Then what did it do? Well, it zoomed up to $19,000, down to $3,200, meeting, once again, none of the criteria of a bubble, 35 times the previous low price. Then it zoomed up to $69,000, down to $15,000, once again, meeting none of the criteria of any historical bubble we have ever seen. Bubbles look like the bottom left of this chart. They do not look like the orange line. So what does look like that orange line? Well, it turns out every high-value asset that has ever become a trillion-dollar industry or asset looks just like that on a logarithmic chart. Apple, Amazon, Netflix, even gold, when you zoom out, goes through the same pattern. And all of these assets do it for the same reason. The marketplace is trying to figure out how big of a deal is this asset, how big of a deal is this industry, and what role will this commodity, technology, or company impact in the global world. Bitcoin's doing the same thing for the very same reason, which is the opposite of how any bubble in human history has ever behaved. So why is it valuable? Well, for the first time in human history, we have a borderless, predictable, and scarce monetary asset. So what do I mean? Borderless because Bitcoin is decentralized. It's not controlled by any country, company, or anybody. And that means Bitcoin is not like fiat currencies, which is nothing but a bunch of fiefdoms all over the world. And borderless because you don't have to have the government's permission to cross a border with more than $10,000. Bitcoin is a decentralized and borderless currency that is valuable because the world has never had a universal worldwide currency that worked like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also predictable, absolutely, completely unlike the Federal Reserve, where even the experts get it wrong every time. And having a money that is absolutely predictable is a very valuable characteristic. Also, Bitcoin is scarce, truly scarce, There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, ever, as opposed to fiat, which is as infinite as a politician's promises.
This is not a drill. This is not a test. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is real. The old system is cracking. You don't fix Bitcoin. Bitcoin fixes you. And my friends, before I sign off today, you don't want to miss Mining Disrupt 2025. It's only months away, and Mining Disrupt 2025 is the biggest Bitcoin mining conference and expo in the world. They're heading to Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. Dennis Porter, Samson Mao, Lawrence Lepard, Luke Dash Jr., the Bitcoin Mechanic, and countless others are ready to send it. Mining Disrupt is where the Bitcoin mining elite coverage deals are made and innovations are unveiled. Be there or be left behind. Grab those tickets today. Come see the Simply Bitcoin team on the news desk, and don't forget to use the promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing the Sound Money Gospel. Set those notifications to on for the best in Bitcoin news delivered to you daily. We love you guys. Rustin will be back on Monday. Might have a special episode from Bitcoin Alaska. So stay tuned and keep your head on a swivel, because we have tons of content coming to you this week. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship,